Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day number 2. How exciting. Woo! Anyways, I wanted to bring a new stone today. This one's quite special. It's called quartz. It's a clear quartz. And when I see quartz, I think of the idea of a master healer. I read that a while ago. And it's a very special stone, but I think one of the keys with stones is that they carry energy of sorts. And obviously they're classified a lot of different ways. That's why I have this gigantic book of stones. But, if you don't have the memory to retain, 500 pages of stones, what I like to do is first examine a stone. I look at it, and it kind of gives me a feeling or perspective of maybe what that stone is about. So quartz is a very beautiful, pure crystal. And so when you reflect or meditate with a stone like this, you can just look at its actual qualities. Maybe it's how it's shaped, how it's composed. And from that, you can actually teach yourself a lot about the stone without having to read. So, needless to say, quartz is a very special stone. Now, I will read you a little passage just because it helps. There's experts in this field. Actually, first, let's start with a few ohms, and then we'll get into the reading. So let's all take a deep breath in and release that breath. Let's take another breath in for Om. There's so much I want to teach you about meditation. There's so much excitement I feel for it. But I guess we'll just have to start easy and slow. But there is one thing that I thought of maybe late last night or early this morning, kind of when I was sleeping and half awake, half asleep. And, for some people, the language of Om is a little bit strange, a little bit foreign, especially in the States, maybe in countries that are predominantly Christian. Now, I want to point this out. If you were raised Christian, Catholic, Lutheran, Baptist, whatever it may be, you may remember a very similar but different word used in the church, and that's Amen. I want you to listen to me. Listen very closely to this. When you pray, and you would say, do you notice how very similar those two are? And there's a very peculiar reason for that, and it's because the people that design the frameworks of religion and churches are smart. See, there's such thing as mantras. This is the idea of a repetition, because back to the idea that we embody what we are in the mind, it's the same with the sound and the vibration. So this frequency is a resonance to center ourself. And so think about it. The churches use Amen in a way to center the body, to prepare the body, the mind, and the spirit for God and the church. Now the Hindus were doing the same thing, but 2,000 years, or maybe even 3,000 years before Christ even got on the planet. So it's a very similar thought, but the structure and the framework of the churches was different. Keep that in mind. So if you don't like the word Om, I invite you to say Amen. You can go the same way. Anyways, back to our crystal quartz. Clear quartz embodies the concept of clarity and the value of becoming a vessel for the light of the divine. It brings clarity of thought and purpose to one's mind and heart and can assist one in overcoming confusion. It helps establish a strong, clear communication to higher guidance, acting as an etheric radio, I wonder if I said that right, to amplify the psychic communication of higher beings. It can be used to enhance telepathic communication and stimulate psychic vision. I believe in that stuff, but we might have to promote that in a different lesson. Well, now that we're deep in the meditation, about 6 minutes in, let's remind ourselves that today is yet another new day, another fresh start of our life. And today we get to decide exactly how it goes. So in the off chance you come against some anger, maybe you meet someone disgruntled, and you're not quite sure how to deal with them, there's always a way that we can get past this. And it's by tuning the mind. We don't want to release the negative thoughts. Sometimes when I find myself in an uncomfortable situation or a situation that's testing me, I find that if I speak through what's happening in my own mind without verbalizing it, maybe I'm just listening to a scenario, maybe I'm witnessing something, you can change the pitch in your mind of how you view that scenario. Watch yourself. Be very, very watchful when you encounter something that makes you angry, upset. Maybe it turns you off like that. You can redirect yourself so quickly if only you can teach your mind to not view that as anger, but maybe rather a lesson. There's something you can take from that. Maybe you don't know what's happening in their day. Maybe it's just not as simple as it all appears. Maybe there's even a way that you could give compassion to this scenario, this individual, so that instead of anger, now you've recycled this experience and turned it into joy, something loving. I also wanted to read you one other little bit today. This is from a book, a very special book called Be Here Now by Ram Dass. Now, if you don't know Ram Dass, he's a very interesting person. I would suggest you maybe Google him check him out on YouTube and listen to some of his stuff. But he was an American teacher who went to India and then came back to preach. And his story is just so poetic and beautiful and stunning. And he recently passed away. I think it was December 22nd of 2019. It was right around then. And he's a very special man. But he wrote this book, and I wanted to read you a passage. By the way, it's very artistic, just so you can see. It's beautifully done. When you have quieted your mind enough and transcended your ego enough, you can hear how it really is. So when you are with a candle flame, you are the candle flame. And when you are with another being's mind, you are the other being's mind. When there is no task to do, you are the task. The mindless quality of total involvement that comes only when the ego is quiet and there is no attachment. It is only when you reside quietly in your own heartium, that's your soul, or the heart of a warrior, that you become he or she of total light, unbearable compassion, and infinite power. Now, I particularly really like reflections that center in on the ego, because the ego, it's something that we can't escape. It is something that we are. It's our uniqueness, this personality, this idea that sets me apart from you and you apart from someone else. But we cannot let the idea of our ego involvement, the sense of I, me, mine, dictate our entire life. If that happens, we become very selfish and very closed off. Have you ever heard someone talk about building walls? This is a very ego-engaged action to keep people away because it's mine. I own it. I know how it works. I'm in control. You can live like that. You can also suffer like that. The idea of taming the ego, surrendering to it, allows us to become united. It gives us an opportunity to see differences in culture, in people, in art, in food, in so much beyond the identity of myself. Let's keep that in mind today as we go about our day and our lives. And if you do get frustrated or angry, maybe it's not about you. Maybe it's more about us. Let's take another deep breath in as we close this meditation, and then we'll take a breath for home. And release the breath. Let's take a breath in for Om or Amen. Thank you for tuning in. I'm so excited to see you tomorrow, and hopefully the next day, maybe even the day after that. I'm going to keep coming with stones and crystals and ideas and thoughts. And if you've got any good ones, you can email me at jimboweekend@gmail.com. Thank you, namaste, and have a great weekend.